So, live with our host and resident sex expert, Bunny.
Oh, I didn't do the intro video. You guys are going to be so mad. Thank you, Fort Worth. Thank you. I had to crack up. The other day, I wandered onto this podcast. It's a female. She was doing a podcast, but she was doing the thing where she videos. And she made, I'm not even kidding, 32 minutes of like rambling small talk before she actually got into the topic. And I thought, this is ridiculous. It was driving me crazy. I was like, I could not understand it. I can't wrap my head around it, and that's okay. I'm going to choke real quick. So, 1 minute, 2 seconds. We're going to get started. I am excited for today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are going to do something pretty fun today. And that is, we are going to be responding to the comments from our videos. So, it's not always pretty, but we do like to be in the comments quite a bit. We like getting comments, whether you agree or don't. Let's face it, the world would be a very boring place if everyone agreed with everything that Fort Worth and I ever say. So make no mistake, we enjoy hearing your comments, whether you completely agree with everything we say or you don't. So a lot of the comments are from, I would say, from our podcast, from he and I speaking together. So we'll talk about that. Fort Worth is going to read the comments as he selects them from across the interweb. And we're just going to talk about them. So some of them will be questions. Some of them will be comments that I respond to, statements. And so we're just going to play with it. It's going to be a fun time. For those of you who are living in the Western world and are Christian, happy Palm Sunday. Thank you for joining me this morning. I like I got new chairs and I'm pretty excited about it, but they're also kind of distracting. So if I wiggle around a lot, it's because I'm enjoying these fancy new chairs that I put together yesterday, and I'm pretty excited. All right, Fort Worth, are you, are you like ready to start reading?
Episode 155, Tall Girls Are Lonely. First comment, I only approach girls 5'8" plus because I'm 6'2" and they will plow the road for me. Bonus, height in women tracks with sexual submission. And guess what I like?
Oh, yeah. Well, and that's a great rule of thumb. If you are already a tall man, and by tall man, I genuinely mean like, I would say 5'10", 5'11", or above. Because if the average woman is 5'4", then 5'10", 5'11", 6 foot and above is certainly tall enough, right? So I love that you only, it's almost like in being tall, some men, like this commenter, have actually made tall girls their type. And I think that's a really good rule of thumb, because then they're hitting on people that, I'm 5'10", go Zach, go. I think that, like we said in that podcast, tall girls are lonely, and so they don't get hit on as much. If you're 5'7", 5'8", 5'9", as a female, you miss a lot of the balls that come flying towards other women. So I love that plan.
This gentleman comment on the tall girls are lonely.
Yeah.
Last girlfriend was 5'9". Of course, she thought she was 5'11". You know, in her brain, that's how tall she is. Everything you guys said is bang on. She tried to hide her body, slouch, with soft-spoken, hat, submissive eye contact, and unfeminine clothing.
Yeah. It is a shame when women use their height, I would say, to almost as a masculinizing feature, like the unfeminine clothing, those kinds of things are mainly because I think they feel so awkward being taller that they actually do their best to try to sink into the background and see. Kind of, my mom and I always called it having a beige day, like the days that you just wanted to be invisible. And I think that tall girls in particular are good at trying to have as many beige days as they can, because otherwise they're like being looked at, being, oh my God, you're tall. I mean, comments like this that just make them uncomfortable because it points out something that they're already self-conscious about. So I like it.
Episode 153, when she says long-term relationships only. And this guy said, you know, we were talking about, you know, unhappiness with girls,
Yeah.
you know, in there. He says, no way girls are this unhappy or discontent in their daily lives. They always seem to be like they're having a good time.
Yes. And I thought that this was a really good comment. So when we were talking about, on that podcast, we were talking about that girls are crying alone and, you know, at their apartments or their houses, you know, drinking wine and crying to their girlfriends every night because they're lonely, because they, what was the title of that one? I'm sorry.
When she says LTRs only.
That's right. Okay. But the girls who are saying LTRs only, it's because they've been run through and they are putting on a front, which is what this comment is addressing. They're putting on a front that they're having a great time. So when you see them, you're not seeing the crying over wine at, you know, 10 p.m. because she's home alone and she misses having a boyfriend or someone to do things with that's not just another girlfriend. So she's not going to let that side show. Only a very few other women, like her closest girlfriend, will ever know that she is so deeply upset about being single. I mean, that's just something that we keep private even from our girlfriends.
Zachary Moore has a good question.
Okay.
Dealing with tall girls. Is it good to address a tall woman's height, or should I just ignore and treat her the same as I would a short girl?
I say being a short girl. I don't, you know, I can't speak from true experience of tall girls, what it's like to go through the world as a tall girl. But I would think that what they are missing the most from a female perspective is just being treated like a normal girl. And so I would say run your game like you would a petite girl, and make her feel beautiful and seen and all the things that she, you know, that like you can toss her around like you think she's so adorable, you know, maybe even like with tall girls, you could even play it up, like pat her on the head or, you know, tease her about things that no one else ever addresses in a positive way. You know, actually like make a game of it to make her feel smaller. I think anything that you can do to run your game in a way that makes her feel like a petite girl that you can toss around like any other is a good way to go.
Bunny Show Live. What turns women on? Please explain the traits of hypermasculinity.
Whew.
I know we're really throwing them at you.
That's okay. No, that's good. I like it. So hypermasculinity, when I was talking about that on that Bunny Show Live episode, I would say, oh gosh, I'm suddenly going blank. Maybe I should have more coffee. I would say strong presence, incredible confidence. I think that what people think of as hypermasculinity is like heavily muscled and maybe angry. I do think there's something to be said for aggressiveness or not shying away from aggression. Girls love a dangerous man. So they don't want you to actually hurt them, but they want to know that you could theoretically hurt them. you know, things like this, I would say, are signifiers of hypermasculinity. So extreme confidence, not giving a shit what anyone else thinks, whether it's her or in general. Just a strength of,
Think of a convict and then dial it back one.
yeah, that's a good way to put it. Speak up so they can hear you. He said, think of a convict, and then dial it back one. I think that's a great way to look at it. They don't give a fuck. They are completely aloof to what anyone else thinks. They're confident. They are badasses. They know that they are dangerous, and everyone else does too.
Awesome. Episode 95. Girls you've dated keep tabs on you forever.
Yes.
Okay. The segment, other than trying to get closure and reinforce their perspective on the breakup, protect their character, I've never experienced this.
That's because you don't know that she's always keeping tabs on you. Listen, it's not that we're going to reach out to you. It's that we know what's going on. We know if you married an ugly woman. We know if you ended up in a mansion or a trailer park. We know all the things that happened in your world after us. So you won't know that she's keeping tabs on you. That's the point. I'm loving my new chair.
Episode 145. Girls gaining weight ruins her quality of life. And do y'all find that most of the women who are overweight don't care that they're overweight, or they simply have zero discipline to eat the correct foods and exercise?
I think at first they care. And then they realize that it's hard to lose weight. And because they get to a point where they're kind of past the point of no return when they come to this realization that maybe they try and it's hard and they don't really like sweating and they hurt all the time and they're always sore and whatever they're doing, it takes time away from this. They start feeling guilty, which is a woman's number one thing that she always feels, but also the thing that she hates to feel the most. So she feels guilty then about every choice she's making, about every time she's going through the drive-through. And very soon, you know, she's talking to friends about it, and the friends are going, "Oh, you look great. You know, blah, blah, blah. The weight will come off. You know, don't worry about it. You know, I was like that once too," or whatever. Girls want to keep, listen, it's terrible to say, girls want to keep the competition down. So even girlfriends who you know are living unhealthily and unhealthy lives and having unhealthy habits, very seldom will girls actually call them out on it or try to correct it or help them. It takes usually the women who will actually be genuinely helpful to girls who are trying to make positive changes in their lives are the women who are in happily married women who don't have anything to worry about. You know, the ones that aren't seeking another relationship. They have their husband, they have their kids, they have their family, they have their home, and they genuinely want to help other girls have a better life as they come up. But I would say those are the only women who genuinely, if they see someone struggling with their weight, will actually offer real advice instead of just saying, "Oh, you go, girl."
It's true.
Yeah. Sad, but true.
Episode 163, Girls' Secret Sex Lies. This is probably our most popular video ever.
And it's brand new.
Yeah,
it's pretty new.
So great podcast. It's 100% true that a guy will lose interest once he knows how many partners his girlfriend, wife has had.
Yeah.
My ex would tell me all the stories of her best friend and how big of a hoe she was. When her best friend came to town, all these stories included my ex
Go
right
figure.
there by her side. The last thing you want to imagine is how many times your partner has been run through. She belongs to the streets.
Yeah. And that's one of the major keys, I will say, is focus on a girl's friends. So whether you know, see them on her Facebook, her social media, you know, from just photos there, or she's telling stories about them, or she's showing you pictures and every one of the picture looks like, you know, they're at a nightclub, but they're actually just out to dinner or brunch. These are great indicators that your girlfriend or the girl that you're speaking to definitely has that slut vibe. So be cautious, and definitely, like this guy said, watch her friend group because it'll tell you everything you need to know. Girls who are genuinely good girls don't hang out with sluts. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Episode 161, Short Men and Game. It sounds like Napoleon complex, small man syndrome.
Yeah.
Overly aggressive or domineering social behavior. Women like this, question mark. You know,
absolutely.
Other men find it laughable. So
that's okay.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Exactly.
I mean,
you're fucking.
Well, and the bottom line is whether you're no matter your height, I won't even say short or tall. No matter your height, men who do not have the inner strength to not care what other people think will cope with that by finding it laughable. So that's true whether you are more on the short side and people say you have a Napoleon complex. Who gives a fuck? If you're 6'6" and are bigger than life, everybody laughs at that too. The ones who are not strong enough to have their own projection of aloof indifference and confidence and strength. So the only people who are going to make fun of you for being confident, no matter your height, are the ones who don't have the self-confidence themselves to project that way.
I'm 5'7". I live in Australia. And the point is, he's not in a short Asian country.
Yeah.
I have never had problems dating because the average height for women is 5'3".
I love it.
I'm a really short dude that is taller than 80% of the women. Women have no concept of height. My wife doesn't think I'm short compared to her. I'm not. I've only ever heard other men comment on me being short because compared to most of them, I am.
Yeah.
Point is, if you're single, just go for girls shorter than you. Easy.
I love it. I love that. And that's absolutely true. In fact, okay, so this is a great way to drive this point home. So Fort Worth is 6'2". His best friend is like 5'9". You say he's 6'2". He's absolutely not. He's 5'9", 5'10", I would say. Great guy. Salts the earth. The most amazing man short of Fort Worth and my father. But he dates nothing but Asians. And it does beg the question whether the Asian fetish came first or if it was because he was shorter and therefore the Asian women generally are considerably shorter than he is. And so, you know, Fort Worth never even realized until I made a comment about it. And it's not negative. My husband was 5'10", but it's not negative that he is 4 inches shorter than you are. I just had made a statement once about it because we were looking at a photo or something. And you genuinely didn't even know that he wasn't 6'2". I mean, 4 inches different, and Fort Worth did not pick up on it. But women will notice your confidence about your height more than your height.
Episode 159, Girls, Babies, and Extended Family.
Yeah.
This is exactly what happened to my sister. Even though she had the option of staying at her boyfriend's house, she came to my mom's house and everything as if she didn't even care. So this was moving.
Fascinating. So whenever she had a baby, she moved into her parents' house so that mom could help. I love it. It happens all the time. Women, even women who don't really get along necessarily or couldn't get out of the house fast enough with her parents, whenever she starts creating a family, whether it's planned or not, she wants mom. She wants the comforts of home. She wants things. She wants the grandparents around. She wants the great grandparents possibly around if they're still alive. You want your family more often than not, unless there's a real traumatic separation between you and your family. You definitely want your mom there to help talk you through and teach you things. So this makes a lot of sense.
Okay. Zachary has a question.
Okay.
I've noticed what we're talking a lot about. Older women tend to be more hostile to men their own age.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's your key? See, this is completely off. He's going the other direction. What's your key to getting them to warm up as a younger man?
So like the cougar thing.
Yes.
Like younger men, older, your age, or older women.
Exactly.
Man, that's a thing. That is definitely a thing. And I say, treat them like you would any other girl. Just know that there will probably be more advanced shit tests. When you say?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, because I have, guys that I went to high school with. Well, okay. There was a guy that I went to high school with. And even in high school, his thing was older women. Like he never dated any of us. And he just always dated older. He is still dating 10 to 15 years older than him. He loves it. That's his thing. And I respect it. He owns it. He knows all the hoops to jump through. But you have to know what comes with that. You have to know that they're probably going to be divorced. So you can't have a bitterness towards single moms, let's say. You can't have a bitterness towards women who have had an entire life prior to you being in her life, which a lot of men struggle with. They don't they want to think that you went from your father's house to your college dormitory to them, no matter how much time it's been. So they want to, a lot of men struggle with thinking about you having, as a female, a life before them. You just have to, and you have to know that you're going to have to jump through more hoops as far as shit testing goes, because she's had a lot more time and on the ground to kind of develop her intolerances. And know also, Zach, that she will challenge you probably on a weekly basis, pointing out that she's older. Are you sure you're into this? Are you, I'm an older, there's nothing attractive about seeing an older woman without her makeup on, like, straight out of the shower or whatever. So just know that because of what we see in person and what we see, let's say across social media, women, I believe, even those of us who are working like hell to age softly, there's always a new 18-year-old coming up, right? A lot of older women might even have children who are, daughters who are 16, 17, 20, 24. So depending on the age range that you are the most interested in relation to your age, this may or may not apply. But just know that there are going to be all kinds of kind of hoops that you're going to have to jump through if your thing is dating older women.
Episode 158, Your Sexual Fitness. I love how fired up Bunny gets about bloodlines. Spot on.
I do. It just matters too much to pay attention to your health and your fitness, for not only for yourself, but it affects everyone for generations.
Explain. because some.
Okay, so what I had said, for those of you who didn't hear the episode on fitness and your bloodlines, episode number what? 158?
158.
158. Your sexual fitness. So what the comment is referring to is, I was talking about you being unhealthy not only affects you, but it affects the fact that you give those genetics, those unhealthy genetics onto your children. Then you set your child up for having not having a leg up, having, being already behind the eight ball whenever they're growing up and dealing with their own health problems. Then it's just generational. Those genetics just continue to be passed on. So you, as the man of your house, being okay with being overweight, being obese, having unhealthy habits, not encouraging good habits, not eating well, not exercising, and generally just prioritizing everything but your health for your lifetime. Not only can you not protect your family because you're not strong enough to act, you're sleeping with a sleep apnea mask, you get tangled up in the cords, you can't get up and down off the floor. All of this happens, and everyone thinks that they're the exception, that in a difficult situation that suddenly you're a 19-year-old who's heavily muscled and strong as an ox. It doesn't work that way. You pass these genetics on to your children, and it affects your bloodline for generations until someone finally down the line starts reversing the process and doing all that they can to try to correct your fucking mistakes, grandpa's mistakes, or my great grandfather. All of this stuff is generational, and it's too important to leave to chance.
It was a statement, but you can expand on it.
Yeah.
Losing weight was far and away the best thing that I had ever done for my dating life.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's the number one thing you can do. It not only improves your appearance, but it improves your self-confidence. It makes you feel better. You have more energy. You look better, so you are more self-confident. And there's something to, I think that even as part of your pre-date routine, you need to go to the gym and you need to lift heavy weights, because just building that strength goes a long way in going into a new date or a relationship with confidence.
This gentleman his name's Billy Buster.
Okay.
In the comments, and this is a good one. How do I nag girls without going too far or coming off as bitter?
That's a good one. And that's I'd say an easy one to kind of overshoot. I think the main thing that you need to focus on with negging, and Fort Worth, you jump in here if you think of anything. But I think the keys with negging is you still have to be playful. You have to focus on things that aren't already in her wheelhouse to be self-conscious about, and you're killing me right now. And things that
two things.
Yeah, jump in here.
One is, it needs to be playful, and you may feel bitter. You know what I mean? Your emotions may be
coming from a bitter place,
but you have to fake it. It's almost like saying a line.
Yeah.
And you do mean well. You want to basically interrupt the pattern, because with a neg, this is not teasing. This is with girls that are 8s and 9s.
Yeah.
You have to break their ego just a little bit of self-doubt.
Yeah.
For a split second, which will allow you to get the conversation going.
Yeah. So, and I know you have a second point, but let me, so therefore, you're saying stuff in response to her being too big for her britches, but you're saying it from an aloof place. You're saying it from outcome independent place, and you're saying it from a fun place. Say it like you would if you were a 15-year-old boy dealing with, you know, some bitch who's trying to knock you down a notch. And I think that then you've kind of got the natural, you know, testosterone and self-confidence to not come off as bitter. And that's what you need in this. So what is your second point to negging?
Practice.
Yeah.
Practice. Because the more you tease girls, the easier the negs will be. And they will be more of a teasing manner. And, and just, you don't always have to neg some girl. I mean, teasing works. Yeah. You know, very rare do girls need their ego kind of like dented.
Yeah, exactly. So, Billy, I hope that this is a little bit disjointed, but I hope that this answers your question about how to neg without coming off as bitter. Mainly, I think the best way to neg a girl who's giving you grief is to tease. I think that to tease, you have to do it all the time. I think that just having fun and having a playful way about you goes a long way in making sure that there's a lightness to you. And so therefore, you know, the negs don't come off as bitter, even if what she's just said is kind of pissing you off.
Perfect. Let's get back into the questions.
All right.
Episode 149, how to deal with boss babes.
Oh, that was a good one. We got a lot of good comments on that one.
A little more detail on wanting not to have to.
Wanting to, not having to.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So girls operate, what I had said on that Boss Babes episode was that girls operate under want to, not have to. Men operate under have to. You don't want to go to work today, but you have to earn a living. You don't want to mow the lawn, but you don't want to pay someone else to do it. So somebody's got to fucking do it. You know, whatever the thing is, men tend to act because they have to. They need to, and they know that if they don't do it, no one else will. Women, on the other hand, operate under want to. They'll say, I have this huge project. I don't have enough time to get it done. I'm already behind on my deadline, but I really don't feel like working on that today. I haven't caught up on Yellowstone in a while. I just don't have the energy. I think I'm just going to go to yoga instead. Whatever it is, if a girl doesn't want to, she won't. She absolutely won't. And she will make no apologies about it. She may feel that guilt at the end of the day, but it's guilt that she justifies. So a girl can justify doing absolutely nothing because we operate under want to, not have to.
Boss babes and travel girls are the most intolerable women on earth. Avoid at all costs. But explain why.
Avoid boss babes and travel girls at all costs because they are just a challenge. They're often run through. They're often, and I would say, the number one thing is the bottom line is they're going to have very high opinions of themselves and expectations for you. So they're going to be constantly challenging, and nothing is ever going to be enough. So whether it's the travel girls who, you know, are always kind of needing the next adventure or needing, you know, like we say, you know, even loyal girls aren't ever really loyal. It's the same kind of thing with travel girls. They always are expecting more and they get bored easily. So you cannot think that you're going to be able to build a relationship with a travel girl unless you are a travel guy and you can't hold still. And I mean, we have travel guy friends. We have guys who will up and go, and it doesn't matter what time of the year of the school year the kids are in. It doesn't matter what the weather is, what the season is, what is on the plate. They are going to go when they feel the itch. Travel girls are like this too. So if you're trying to build something more stable, even if it's just a dating relationship with a travel girl, oftentimes she'll get that itch and she just bails. Boss babes, same kind of thing. They're intolerable because they will challenge every decision you make. They'll never trust anything that you say to be correct. They have a very hard time, and there are exceptions to every rule, but most of them have a very hard time submitting to your leading and your instructions because they think of themselves as a little bit bigger and larger than life than they actually are.
This is serious talk. So the boss babes,
Uh-huh.
and this is one that we take seriously because it destroys families.
Yeah.
When my ex-wife went back to school and got a job, the family fell apart. All we did was argue. She was constantly stressed out and everyone suffered. Her income was negligible.
Yeah.
It was the beginning of the end. This was one of your best podcasts. Spread the word.
Man, it really is. Wives who kind of get the itch to build a career once you're married, once you've built a family, no matter what age the kids are, really, if she decides she wants to go back to school or she wants to go into the corporate world or whatever it is, it often is to the detriment of the family. 9 times out of 10, it is really terrible for the family. And I hate to hear that in this man's case, it was the beginning of the end, because even if she doesn't think that it'll interfere, and she'll sell you on it not interfering, the schooling won't interfere. I'll study on the weekends. I'll whatever, I'll work, but I'll only work while the kids are in school. Whatever it is, it never actually plays out that way. Never. It never plays out that way. So instead, she's neglecting the children. She's neglecting you. She's always tired. All she can talk about is stuff that is outside of this life that you two have built together. And she's no longer a mom. She's a therapist, or she's a restaurateur, or whatever it is that your wife wants to do. It destroys families, and it's very sad to see.
Last question on the boss babes.
Yeah.
Zachary Moore. Speaking of boss babes, you mentioned certain careers that make women more masculine over time.
Yes.
Like attorneys. Would engineering be included among them?
That's a good question. That's a good question, especially because we know several female engineers. And I would say engineers, maybe not. Now, I'm not very well spoken in the different types of engineering, but in talking to our female clients, we actually have, this is so ironic, we actually have 4 female clients that are engineers. So what do you know?
Aerospace.
Yeah. Okay.
Everything that involves.
Yeah. So we actually asked them one time about the different types of engineering programs and kind of the ratio of men to women in each. And they were very, very straightforward with us about some like, parts of the industry attracting males, being heavily male dominated, very few females, and the females in those lines being more masculine. But some are much more female driven. So I'd say that as far as the STEM careers go, what would you say the the ones to avoid would be. I mean, I think that engineer is way too broad of a title to say avoid engineers, because they're mainly just the nerds of the gender, and made a career of it.
Well, what, like the girl said, they'd be like one of 100 in their engineering class.
Yeah.
But once they got to work, it's 50% women.
Yeah.
They're hiring a lot of women compared to men.
Exactly. That's a good point. So once they go to work, like Fort Worth is saying, once they go to work, they're around more women. It's not such a male dominated field. And so even within engineering, they're kind of more in a normal work office environment. So I love our engineer clients. They're pretty cute. They're feminine. They're fun.
They're definitely girls.
And I think there might be something said for the fact that even engineering, because it is still a very professional field, they have to dress well. They have to go to an office. There's lots of stuff that they have to do that actually encourages their intelligence, but also their femininity. I think it's of what we've seen firsthand, it's actually a really good balance.
Episode 148, 24-year-old male, 29-year-old female. How exactly do women know a guy fucks a lot? I'm just baffled by it.
I would say that most women assume that the men that are in front of them are more experienced. And I'd say that that's true whether she's a slut and she knows she's a slut, or if she's a virgin. I think that even men who are completely low notch count guys can, with confidence, behave in such a way that that women cannot tell where their level of expertise is or where their level of sexual experience is. All that being said, that should be actually good for you, that women generally are going to assume that you're more experienced. Does that answer the question, do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Episode 146, how to indirectly discern a girl's sexual history. Thanks for sharing these videos. Being happily married a long time, but these podcasts are still super insightful for raising teenage daughters.
Oh, yeah.
Much more complicated nowadays for young folks than it used to be.
Yeah, it's true. That's a good one. And it is. I mean, like we've talked about, just because, we talk about dating, relationships, game, and sex, you could be married. Good morning, G-Town. You could be married and still need to employ these kinds of tactics to your own marriage, to, game applies to office situations, to dealing with your mom, to all of it. Intersexual dynamics is true whether you're having sex or not. So it's important to be in these kinds of circles to kind of keep your skills sharp.
Episode 143, how do you ghost a girl? Second guessing your decisions always leads you into worse actions.
It's true. It's never a good idea to second guess anything that you do. Like across the board, second guessing yourself is the worst thing that you can do. You can learn from your mistakes, but the mistake has already been made. So, allowing it to kind of dictate your future, or regret to dictate your future, is a terrible idea. So don't second guess yourself. Just move on.
So you're correct on the how to ghost a girl. When you block her everywhere.
Block her everywhere. You can't ghost a girl if you still leave that one thread of connection between you. You have to block her on your phone. And that doesn't mean just take her phone number out of your phone. It means actually block the number. I mean, I remember, this is so goofy. I remember even my ex-husband telling me that, he was like, dating a girl, and he said, but I took her out of my phone, so I blocked her. And I was like, that's not blocking her. That's not what that is. You didn't block anybody. But this is the same man who takes the Facebook app off of his phone and says that he's gotten off the app. So it's it's totally different. But don't block someone in just one place. You block them. If you're going to go someone, you send the message all across the board.
Big Mac asks and this is this is a different topic.
Okay.
And I think it's something that we haven't dealt with before. What's the deal with women who get married to betas in their early 20s? The question is, aren't they supposed to wait for their epiphany phase?
I'd say that women who get married to betas young are looking for stability, and likely their fathers were very much like that, and they had a decent life. And so it worked. At our core, women are attracted to what's comfortable to us. And so if we were raised by someone in a genuinely happy, relatively happy, healthy, happy household, and that's how our father was, it worked. That's what she knows. That's what she's attracted to. So women will marry betas all day long, no matter what age they are. It's not that that's what they're most sexually attracted to, but it's what they are most comfortable with. And maybe, depending on their level of appearance, their attractiveness, and even their personality, maybe even at 20, a beta just fits better, puts up with her better, cows down to her better, all of the things, supports her and supplies for her better. And even if she's a 20-year-old and not a 45-year-old, this woman still appreciates that.
Some of these girls down the road, but it's not often, but the few they missed out on something.
Oh, for sure. No, I'm not
yeah.
suggesting that they don't eventually regret it.
No.
Some of them do, because they think, oh, he's boring, or they don't think about the fact that their mom was bored also.
Yeah.
But, had a nice house and had a good little life. So.
But there's far fewer of them than you hear the exceptions.
Yeah.
The exceptions are the loudest.
Yeah.
Episode 139, posture precedes words. I will have open palms on that posture.
I would say that's true. So on what's the name? Can you think of the name for the posture that we were talking about?
Constrapo.
Yeah. Constrapo. So I picture Richard Gere standing at the bar in American Gigolo, I think it was kind of what we were talking about. But this is a posture that's used in sculpture. It's used in paintings. You recognize it as being a strong male, hyper masculine, but relaxed, confident man. And I'm just going to randomly kick things. So I like the idea of making sure that the hands are relaxed in this as well. Because if he's, got a fist, it kind of, I would say it contradicts the posture. So I like the idea of adding relaxed hands or open palms, like you're saying, to that.
James Austin in the comments. I dated this girl for 6 months last year. We're both in college. We broke up, and now she's cheating on her current boyfriend with me.
Oh, yeah.
I still like her a lot, and I think we could work out again. What to do?
Are you sure about that? My first response is always, really? What broke you up? Know that whatever broke you up didn't change just because you're fucking again. Just because you have a sexual desire does not mean that the things that broke you up are not going to break you up again. And just remember that if you try to get into a relationship with this girl again, the problems that you had before, that's where you start the new relationship from. So make sure that if you want to give her another go because you're having hot sex with her on the side, it's gonna, the problems only escalate. So you never start back at zero. You're not going to start back where you were when you first were dating her originally. You're going to start at the point that you were having the problems when you broke up. It may feel like wine and roses and honeymoon for a week, but that's literally as long as it will last. Things only escalate, and now there's a comfort. Number 2 point to that, other than just saying, are you sure? Is if she's cheating with you, she'll cheat on you. And history always repeats itself. So know that if you are with someone who is cheating to be with you, she will cheat on you to be with someone else. It just always happens.
We have no more questions. And I kind of opened it up in the comments.
Yeah.
Ask them if they, and we can take it.
Okay, let's see. What did Marty just send? Iron Rule of Tomasi, number 7. It is always time and effort better spent developing new, fresh, prospective women than it will ever be attempting to reconstruct a failed relationship. 1000%, Marty. That is absolutely true. It's often not worth the effort. It's often not worth the effort, but it's very difficult for men to not give it a try because men are men of action. And so the idea of not doing something usually stifles you more than anything. But know that, just like Marty has shared from Rollo Tomasi, if you are thinking about going back with a girl, it's very rarely a good idea. Does anybody else have any questions? We have had so much fun just kind of going through some of the comments that we've had on our videos and our podcasts over the 10 months that we've been on video. We've been having a lot of fun. Let's see. Pogs tend to date. Oh, okay. That's interesting. I'm sorry. I get distracted by the comments. I don't know how Ryan Stone deals with all the comments and talks to people at the same time as he's talking to you guys. Because I'm like, what does that say? I am so glad you guys tuned in for the Bunny Show live episode this morning. I know that it is, that's okay, Zach. We love your questions. If you have questions that maybe didn't make it onto the show today or that you didn't necessarily want to ask in a public forum, we totally get it. Please DM us. We love to hear your thoughts. We love to hear your questions. And if it's something more specific, you may even want to sit down with a consult with either Playboy or I. We both have them on our websites, and they should be in the links down below. But we love working with you guys, whether it's through this forum, through Twitter, and through one-on-one consults. And very cool thing to announce, Fort Worth is now doing text support as well. So he'll start with consulting with you on a one-on-one basis. But then if you want kind of constant communication and you want to be able to shoot quick questions to him throughout the month instead of sitting down with one major problem that you want to work out, that is a great option for you as well. So reach out to Fort Worth through his website contact form if you're interested in that. Also, guys, the bunny interviews have been so much fun. I hope that you've been tuning in for them. Tomorrow, Monday, April 3rd, we are doing the bunny interviews, and I am interviewing special guest Stephen Story. Now, if you are not familiar with Stephen, he is on Twitter, he's on Instagram, he's on YouTube as well, and he is an insurance adjuster, which sounds very boring, but it actually has allowed him to have an incredible location-independent Playboy lifestyle, and he's got a lot of great stories to share and a lot of great insights because he truly is a gem. He wants you to have the same life that he has if you want it. And he is all about sharing the secrets of living a more independent lifestyle where you can be surrounded by beautiful women, have plenty of money to be happy, healthy, have time to be active and physically fit, and just live the life that you love and will kind of feed your soul, as well as give you lots of options for sticking your dick in things. But he travels to the most wonderful places. This is a life that you can also create even as a married man. You can have create generational wealth building from the kind of life that he is encouraging. Marty, when is the Dan Heron interview? So we had that on Friday. It was excellent. Now, the problem is we had a little bit of a glitch with our sound, so we actually had to start again. We had to do it twice. But the second interview was even better than the first. And I'll find that link and share it with you, Marty, if Fort Worth isn't already doing it, because it was fantastic. And Dan is a private investigator with 30 plus years of experience, both as a private investigator and a federal law enforcement agent. And he was great in sharing information about kind of the things to look at from a relationship perspective, the things to kind of watch for from women in their behaviors and how they change, and kind of the tells if they are unhappy in the relationship and kind of starting to look other places. It was a super terrific interview. Unfortunately, the original link that I shared, it has, in the original link that I shared, it actually has the new link in the description box. So it was a little bit of a cluster, but we rolled with it. It was no big deal. And the end product is fantastic. So I do hope that you'll check out my interviews with both Ryan Stone on Monday and Dan Heron on Tuesday, and Dan Heron on Friday, because they were fantastic. Lots of good information to share from really fascinating men. I'm really excited for Stephen's story tomorrow. And I appreciate all of you guys. So many of you are so generous with making comments on all of our videos for the algorithm and just to beef up our numbers. We appreciate the hell out of that. Thank you so much for knowing the game and playing it with us. It goes a long way, and it makes me have warm and fuzzies. So I genuinely appreciate that. Fort Worth does as well. I am trying to get Sterling Cooper. That would be an amazing conversation. Talk about two people who love to openly talk about sex. That would be us. It would be amazing. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you, as always, to Fort Worth for making me look good and being the best darn producer around. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the Bunny Show Live love. And yes, I'm loving that a lot of you guys are actually sending us people to check out. We would love to know who you want me to interview. So thank you for all the love. We appreciate you. Have a wonderful day.